Now return to Let's Play Coteries of New York. We must rest. You wake up. This is not your haven. It's a cramped space. You try to move your arms and find they are tied to your body. You can barely bend your legs. When you try to stretch your neck, you hit a cold ceiling. You can't quite believe it, but this is a coffin, or something close enough to it. It vibrates slightly, but you can't hear any sounds coming from outside. It's entirely dark. I mean, we could smash our way out. This could also be normal. Ah, fuck it. Oh, what? You focus and divert your blood to boost your physical prowess. This way you imagine it, the way you imagine it, you're going to Superman punch the lid off this thing. You kick it with all your strength, but only make a dent in it. Hey, it's a start. You keep kicking. With each hit, you make the dent bigger. You manage to make a small crack in the very bottom of the container. A bit of light and sound come in. This actually was probably a dumb idea, all things considered. We don't know what time it is outside. The crackle of a radio, the hum of a car's engine, a nervous male voice. Object is breaking containment. Please advise. I mean, who could have seen this coming when half the city knew where my haven was? A response you don't quite catch. The brakes of the car. An impact jostles your container about. Keep kicking. Keep wrestling out of your prison. The car door opens violently. You hear a gun being cocked. A panicked scream. Operation compromised. Engaging blank bodies. Shots. A struggle. Silence. The lid comes off. What the... Okay, I hope I didn't miss dialogue there because I just clicked it and nothing showed up. You're here. That's a relief. Oh boy. Definitely we've hit the jackpot. Follow us, and quick. Seeing their faces is surprising, even more so in these circumstances. However, you realize the immediate danger and follow your companions out of the car and down a street in North Bronx. I wish the music would shut up for a minute. The van has crashed into another car. A familiar face, that of Kaiser's ghoul Jackie, stumbles out of the wrecked sedan and slinks away into the darkness before you can call after him. Three of you jog away toward the line of the trees, take shelter under some branch... Okay, Jesus! I apologize. It's got that shit... Oh, really? That doesn't turn it off? Let's just see about all audio. Fuck, man. The three of you jog away toward the line of trees and take shelter under some branches just as you hear a chopper approaching. Its searchlights illuminates the wrecked van and moves toward you. Get on the ground. Okay, you know what? Pull that up just a bit. Agathon takes something out of his pocket. You hear a soft breaking sound, and then he just disappears from sight. You look to D'Angelo, but he's not there. It must be his disappearing trick again. You're left alone with just seconds to make your move before the spotlight finds you. He said get on the ground, right? As in, don't run away. So just get under a bush, I guess. Seeing no better option, you find the nearest bush and dive right under it. It's probably not the best or smartest thing to do. Well, thank you. We were told to just get on the ground, as in, stay here. Not run off on our own. And I like that there's always creepy little things like that guy that just walked out of nowhere across the path. Probably not the best or smartest thing to do, but you have to trust your gut. The illumination passes only inches away from you, but it's just a pattern of light on the ground. The trees block a good portion of it. It doesn't dwell on you. It doesn't seem like they've spotted you, or any of your companions. The helicopter flies on, its searchlight frantically moving through the vicinity as your companions once again appear in your proximity. We have an opening. Let's go before the SI decides they want to do another sweep. I mean, what are you two doing here? I got some idea of what's going on. But I guess, how did they find me? Sure. What are you two doing here? D'Angelo, care to fill them in? The SI did a number on you. Your haven got raided. Oh, big surprise. And they took you for a ride upstate. They have a facility somewhere out of town. Not a place you'd want to be. The thing that surprised me the most, though, it was Kaiser who contacted us and let us know. How did SI know where I live? Not like everybody else. I mean, it could have been anybody. It could have been the secret admirer. It could have been that creepy guy who said he was here. I was told to drink, which was also the creepy girl. I mean, come to think of it, it was a lot of the Strock. But even what's his face? Oh, even Frank. And then the SI knew where Frank was, and they killed him when he was talking with me. And then the guy with the church, all of them, all those third-party ones were tied to the Inquisition. Anyway, Kaiser organized this? Why? Why would he do that? Listen, kid, whatever his reasoning, I'm sure he'll expect something in return, so keep it cool. Want to get out of this in one piece the same way you do. Speaking of, he's here. Come on. Kaiser's familiar car stops nearby and the back door opens. Your allies usher you inside and join you. Being inside this mobile fortress never felt like a relief. Till now. Hey, fledgling, miss me? I mean, not really, but I'm glad you're here. Well, I'm not overly fond of breaking licks out of covert SI transports, so I consider this an investment. You are here now only because I told your buddies that you were neck-deep in shit. That van you were in, a one-way ticket to Hurtville, Pennsylvania. Broke you out as a favor. Now you owe me. Big. Did Sophie ask you to help? Ha! Now that would have been rich. Sophie Langley stooping down to ask me for help. Oh, please, my adopted child is in danger. Save them, won't you, Kaiser, sir? Ah, fledgling. She didn't come calling. If she did, I'd have her beg. I'd have her do a lap dance if the stuck-up bitch even knows what one is. She wouldn't do that. You're worth less to her than her pride. I don't appreciate that kind of talk. Langley might be all that you're saying she is, but I won't just listen to you disrespect a woman. Okay. Simmer down, Agathon. You better do one of your tricks and summon earplugs out of the air then, before I tell you a thing or two about your dear Aisling. Don't you dare. Okay. For a moment the atmosphere grows thick. Kaiser's hoarse laughter breaks the silence. Oh man, it must be real fun at parties. Anyway, to get us back on track. I have a good idea of why the SI hit you, Eric. I mean, there are several reasons that I know of. Not that there aren't a ton of good reasons for it. It might have been one of these, for instance. The screens in Kaiser's car flicker, and each of them now shows a short, looped clip. It's you, getting into a fight, feeding, using one of your powers, smashing a car, smashing a brick wall. You haven't exactly kept a low profile, fledgling. And twice in one night, in fact. I get it, you're new to this, you didn't know better, yada yada yada. The fact is, the SI has tons of this stuff. Security camera footage, YouTube videos posted by onlookers, social media posts from victims, you name it. Like I said, though, I don't think any one of these did you in. Slip-ups happen. Not to you, though, right? I always wondered how it is that you can drive a pompously luxurious limo around New York City and not get caught. What's your secret? Body doubles? Decoy cars? Kaiser smiles, going for that anthropomorphic piranha look you saw a few times before. You do know what killed the cat, don't you, Mr. Finch? Angelo freezes and scratches his face, looking fiercely at the other Nosferatu. You notice that his hands are shaking. Well, do you? Stop shedding on the upholstery and answer, or should I use your given name too? Yeah, I know why the cat croaked. You would, wouldn't you? You've never seen D'Angelo serve anyone a death stare quite like the one he's shooting Kaiser now. As much as I enjoy tempering your overinflated ego, we're nearing our destination, so I think I'll move on. The reason I need you walking and talking, Eric, is to test a hypothesis of mine. For that, I need you to finish what you were tasked to do. So first things first. Here. He hands you a phone. The number has already been dialed. You hear the tone. Somebody picks up. Who is this? It's me, Sophie. Eric, are you okay? They're fine and dandy. Kaiser, what are you doing on this line? What do you think? It's my phone your protege is using. So keep it snappy. Operating a secure network ain't cheap. Come on, Eric, spit it out. I mean... Listen, I got captured by the Second Inquisition, but I'm fine now. SI? That's what I feared. Listen, the plan. We need to do it, tonight. But if the Inquisition is involved and you broke out, they'll be looking for you. So we can't meet in public. I have a place in mind, but... Kaiser, are you still listening? Would I tell you if I wasn't? Eric, call this number from where you visited before last we spoke. Shit. I'll come pick you up. She hangs up. And that's that. Well, Eric, care to elaborate? Never did tell me what kind of work you did for Langley. Don't play coy, D'Angelo. You must have figured at least some of it out. Don't worry. We'll have plenty of time to compare notes after we let our mutual acquaintance continue with their night. If my intel is worth a damn, your next stop, Eric, is right about here. The car comes to a stop, and the door opens. Outside, you see the street leading to Solids and Stripes, Torque's pool pub. Well, you need me to kick you out? What about my companions? What about Agathon and D'Angelo? What about them? They're staying right where they are, and we're going to have a little chat. After we're done, I'm sure they'll find a way back to their havens just fine. The clock is ticking. I think I know what Sophie wants to do tonight, and if I'm right, tonight's the last chance you've got. If you want to say bye to your buddies before you go, that's fine by me, but that schedule of yours is pretty hectic, so you better do it now and scram. Thank your companions for the help. You thank both your companions for their assistance. Without them, you wouldn't be here now. Kaiser makes a gagging gesture and urges you to step out of the car. You turn around and make your way to the bar. The door closes behind you and Kaiser's limo starts moving again. You hope your companions won't have to pay too high a price for helping you. The Solids and Stripes is pretty much abandoned tonight, with only the bartender and one bleary-eyed local watching an old Bogart movie on the bar's screen. You ask to use the phone and call Sophie first. Yes? I'm at the bar. Good. We'll be there in 15 minutes. If Torque's not there, notify him. How am I supposed to notify him if he's not here? We need to move, and fast. She hangs up. You tell the bartender to notify Torque, just like the Anarch leader mentioned you should. The man makes a short call. You only hear somebody picking up, but no words exchanged. The owner's on his way right now. Can I get you anything while you're waiting? Do you serve special stuff? Because actually I need it. You serve the, special stuff? The bartender raises an eyebrow. The special reserve, you mean? Sorry, I can only serve that to a narrow selection of the owner's friends. Do I wanna? This is a loaded gun for me, using my powers, but presence has usually always worked. In fact, I don't think it has never worked. Potence has had the most problem for me, but presence always seems to work. Come on, I won't tell anybody. Just a sip of the good stuff. Yeah, okay, but just a little, okay? So they don't notice any of it missing. He takes out a bottle from a safe behind the counter and pours a bit of brown liquid into a glass. It's whiskey. Not what I meant. There, enjoy. Your disappointment is palpable. At least the smell is nice. Torque comes in some 10 minutes later without Mia. He tips his hat to you, puts a hand on the bleary-eyed patron's shoulder, and says something to him under his breath. They both laugh. Marty, how's the night going? Quiet, sir. Just how you like it, huh? Torque notices the untouched glass with a bit of whiskey in it that you persuaded the bartender to pour. For me, you shouldn't have. He takes the glass and drinks the liquid, moving it around in his mouth before swallowing. He looks you in the eye. Sure, I won't keep it in forever, but the night when I don't enjoy the taste of good whiskey is the night when I truly consider myself damned. Well, Eric, I believe you wanted me here for a reason. Let's hear it. You're about to tell him what brought you here when the door to the bar opens and Sophie walks in, all splendor and charisma. The patron's eyes are now glued to her. So are the bartender's. Torque isn't happy with the sight. Well, this isn't what we agreed on, Eric. Care to explain? Well, we had to improvise. Things got complicated. We had to improvise. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. I believe Eric already told you why I'm here. You didn't really give me time. Not in any detail, and the circumstances of our meeting were supposed to be different. So, Ms. Langley, tell me why I shouldn't ask you to leave and kick out your protégé while I'm at it. You will like what I have to say. Yeah, I've heard that line 100 times, but 99 of those ended with somebody getting hurt. That's not something I'm in the mood for tonight. We're wasting time. There's a unique opportunity we should take advantage of, and we only have an hour or so to discuss it before it will be time to act. My driver is waiting outside. Wait a goddamn minute. First of all, I'm not going anywhere without Mia. That was the deal. Second, it's Eric who is supposed to do the driving, not your servant. Both serve me, so really it's of little difference. The circumstances changed and we had to adapt. Don't be stubborn. Foolishness does not suit you. I have a secure spot in mind where we can talk. I'll stop you right there. Torque is seething, but he's keeping a lid on his anger. His voice barely changes. My conditions were clear. The way I hear it, you want to break each one of them. I see no reason at all to agree to any of this. I believe I will be staying put tonight. You have places to be, yes? Torque, you're throwing away the only chance you have at challenging Callahan. Don't be a fool. The lid comes off. Call me a fool one more time, woman, and that's the only thing I'm going to be throwing. Throwing a fool? What? I don't know. I feel like there should be an option for just keep your fucking mouth shut. But I mean, the whole calm down approach probably isn't going to work out here. Trying to take, I don't know, taking Torque's side, she's already upset with me as it is. Taking Torque's side, though, might buy goodwill with him. Like, I could play the good cop, you know what I mean? I don't think elder vampires are going to be shamed by me, who they both disregard. Alright. Sophie Torque's right. This does sound like a setup. I wouldn't trust you either in this situation. You dare! She slaps you, fast, hard. The sound reverberates in the mostly empty bar. Torque smiles. See, Eric? That's the cam in a nutshell. You obey them to the letter or they put you in your place. It's Sophie who's seething now. I don't have any more time for this charade. Fine, stay here, both of you, if that's what you want to do. What was I thinking, risking my reputation for you, Eric? Shots break the front windows, and a flashbang goes off in the room, changing the bar into a space of white light and ringing noise. You feel somebody tugging at your back, and you're thrown behind the bar. More shots ring out, bottles break, the TV shatters into pieces, the wooden bar splinters. Your sight comes back, but you think you've gone deaf, because suddenly the room is silent. You see Torque beside you, and Marty, the bartender, bleeding out on the floor. You look over the bar. Sophie is standing there, her dress partially tattered, a visible hole in her leg. She's like the heart of a supernova, entrancing, unavoidable, beautiful and terrifying. In front of her are 8 operatives, looking like a private military force, just standing there, paralyzed by Sophie's magnificence. Torque, you still there? Yeah. Would you kindly show your guests some hospitality? Sure thing. The Anarch is gone in the blink of an eye, and he reappears next to one of the soldiers. The armor-clad operative's head disappears in a puff of blood and bone. The same thing happens to the second, the third. You hear the radios go off on the other soldiers' shoulders, a panicked voice pleading them to wake up. The fourth head pops. The fifth. They finally realize what's happening, but it's too late. The sixth man is beheaded by what you now see is just Torque's bare-fisted punch. Torque stops by the seventh man, rips something off his neck and bites down. Sophie walks over to the last man and has him kneel in front of her before biting as well. On your right, a man in full body armor emerges from the back door, raising his assault rifle. What the fuck? Alright. Not thinking twice, you stand up and grab the soldier's head in your hands. Before he can react, you twist. The sickening sound of breaking bone is followed by the crumpling of his limp body. You see Torque holding a combat knife in his hand, ready to throw it. It catches your eye. Beat me to it. Langley? Sophie wipes her mouth of blood and looks at him. That meeting still an item? Yes. I'll take it. Splendid. Torque walks behind the bar and checks on the bartender. You see the Anarch open his own wrist and feed blood to the wounded man. Drink up, Marty. It'll make you feel better. Get the hell out of here and wait for Mia. She's coming, and she'll know what to do. So this turns him into a ghoul if he's... I mean, I assume he probably already is. Torque? Yeah, coming. Take the back door. Eric, come on. You slink back into an alley behind the bar, leaving 10 bodies and one grievously wounded ghoul behind. Nobody stops you from circling around the block and finding your way to Sophie's car. Gregory drives away casually as if this was just another late-night drive, and not the crowning of a desperate, complicated evening. Sophie brings you all to a luxurious apartment in Manhattan's Upper West Side. The way she explains it, the vampire who owned it left the city a few years ago and gave away spare keys to a few trusted compatriots. It's been used sporadically since. Fancy. You like it? It always felt too modern for my tastes. What's important is that it's secure. As long as nobody followed your car here, or the fledgling. Trouble follows this one wherever he goes. Oh God, you have no idea. Even if that's the case, we have very little time to conduct our business here anyway. We'll be leaving soon, I hope. So let's begin. You look at Sophie, excited. Finally, you will learn what it is that you've been working towards for more than a week, and what it is that Kaiser wanted you to participate in. I have it on good authority that Boss Callahan is blood-bound to Prince Pennard. Torque sucks in air loudly. That's an accusation and a half there, Langley. Got proof? No, but we're just a boat ride away from getting it. What is that supposed to mean? Eric, the address that I procured from Kaiser was the meeting spot for Pennard and the Baron's regular sharing of blood, messily and with unseemly enthusiasm if the rumors are true. Wait, Kaiser knew about this? Is there anything that insufferable clump of dead skin doesn't know in the city? He knows things, but only shares them if you pay. Neither the Prince nor Callahan can touch him. He's too useful. Kaiser said saving me was in his interest. He said something about having plans for me, that he wanted me to make this meeting happen. That can't be good, right? That is an interesting point. I think Kaiser might be as interested in shaking up the status quo as we are. A chaotic landscape makes for a great market for him, unlike a static one. I don't like playing into that creep's hands, but at least now I know what I'm doing. Now that I'm doing it, I guess. The devil you know and all that. What was the address he gave you? They meet regularly on Ellis Island. In fact, their next meeting starts in around half an hour. Hot damn. I'm guessing you want to crash that meeting. Why? So you can see the proof for yourself, so that I can make sure too, and so that I have an extra pair of eyes for Pennard to consider when I present to her my ultimatum. The Prince must abandon her seat and leave New York City. She can go wherever she pleases, but if she stays the entire court will know, and the next prince might not look favorably on her past. Is this canon? Dealing with Anarchs, especially so closely, is a punishable offense in the Camarilla, as I'm sure you've heard. So I feel like it's more likely that Sophie is going to be exiled. So I did. Torque strokes his beard and looks intently at Sophie. What exactly are you trying to accomplish here? Say you remove Pennard, and I even remove Callahan. Then what? Torque, did you ever wonder why Callahan is keeping you in check? Because I wondered why the Prince condemns Anarchs during her visits to Elysium, but doesn't allow the Ivory Tower to challenge you. She, or they, have engineered this status quo not for the good of their sects, but for private gain. They keep us all in line because it lets them hold on to power that much longer. And your goal is what? Make this Cold War turn hot? Not a great plan. You cammies will get your butts kicked out of New York City in no time. If you Anarchs manage to organize, which I doubt you will, at any rate, it's a risk I'm willing to take. I don't stand alone in this. This entire operation has been years in the making. Torque, I am offering you a chance to square things with Callahan and level the playing field. If we get rid of these two, we can start on equal footing at the next stage of this danse macabre. And then how do I factor into this? We will be taking you with us to Ellis Island, both as another set of eyes to witness the Prince and Baron in the act, and as a bit of added security, as a hostage, as a trading piece. I don't think Helena or Callahan would dare to lay a finger on me, but they will not find me unprepared. You know, after all those years spent at Callahan's shadow and taking part in all the kindred dick-measuring contests, I should expect a ruse, some ploy to kill me in an out-of-the-way place. That's our inherent paranoia talking. My gut tells me it's time to get this show started. I do hope you have a boat nearby, Langley. Sophie smiles mischievously. course I do. It's waiting for us by the pier. I mean, especially since I have proven on several occasions not to be her lapdog, I'm more than willing to bet this ends with me being thrown under the bus at some point. Lead the way then. Moonlight's burning. The three of you leave the apartment and walk toward the pier. Nobody seems to be following you. You get on a small patrol boat and double time it through the Hudson's cold, dark waters. Out of all the places in New York City where the Prince and the Baron could meet, and it's Ellis Island. I mean, you could just get rid of that. A landmark with a dark past. A museum on one hand, a dilapidated piece of history on the other. You leave the boat and make your way to the southern part of the island, paying no heed to the renovated tourist attractions on the northern side. You expected some resistance, a night guard, a helicopter flying overhead, or maybe an NYPD patrol boat. Nothing. The island seems completely deserted. It's clear this sets Sophie on edge. She's moving as quietly and subtly as ever, but you can see that she's eager to reach the particular house her intel pointed out. Torque is following suit, grimly determined, flashing his piercing gaze all over, still clearly uncertain this isn't some kind of con. Finally, you see it. Light coming from a window in one of the buildings at the edge of the island. Alright, hold on a minute. Was that where this... I don't quite remember where this volume was at. The three of you slowly creep closer to the building and take a look inside the window. There it is. Callahan kneeling in front of the prince, sucking on Penard's wrist. Both fully clothed. A small blessing. Torque makes his move, and before Sophie can stop him, he busts through the building's doors. It all happens very quickly. Torque grabs Callahan by the shoulders and throws him through the still open door. Callahan hits the ground, hard. Torque appears on top of him and starts punching. You fucker, you piece of shit! Stop! Prince's voice takes hold for just long enough to make Torque relent, which the Baron uses to the fullest. He shoves Torque off of himself and tries to bite down. Prince, call off your lapdog. Langley, what is the meaning of this? The two Anarchs break apart, both wounded, but neither is quite done yet. They look at one another with pure hatred. Kill the bitch, Helena. But leave the fledgling to me. Right after I deal with this shit stain, I'm gonna... A shrill, unpleasant laugh fills the air. You know who it belongs to. So entertaining, truly. Churro. It feels almost a shame to break up this spectacle, but alas. Thomas? Who the fuck is this joker? Ah, yes, I don't think we met, though I did hear a lot about you, Mr. Torque. My name is Thomas Arturo, and I... Callahan uses this moment of uncertainty to strike. He's still too slow for Torque, who throws the boss onto the lawn where the two exchange blows once again. Ahem. Helena, if you'd be so kind as to ask your friend not to hurt our guest too much. Callahan, don't kill him. This time Callahan comes out on top and grabs Torque in an iron hold. Your companion struggles, but can't quite break away. I will not be denied, Helena, not this time. You will do as I command. And she will do as I command her, Douglas, old boy. What? Like I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, I feel like I need to break up this little spectacle. It's been going on for much too long. You think you're so smart, Langley, you and your clique? Figured out that there was something fishy going on all on your own. But you were always working with just a piece of the puzzle. Wasn't she, Eric? Sophie looks to you, shocked and disappointed. What are you talking about, Arturo? What I'm talking about? You, fledgling. You don't know? How could you? Only I knew, and your sire, of course. They're the one who agreed to embrace you, after some negotiations. You hear a scream and a curse. It's Callahan, whose arm has been nearly ripped off his body. Torque breaks out of the Baron's grasp, but doesn't continue the attack. Instead, he's at the edge of the water in the blink of an eye and disappears into the Hudson. The only trace left of him is his fedora. Another actor going off script at the very end, eh? No matter. Let him bring us some amusement now that the production is almost wrapped up. He'll reach his allies. He'll tell everyone of this. Elena, if we naively assume his nights aren't numbered now that he's in the SI's sights, the show must go on one way or another. Won't hurt to... Okay, Jesus. Won't hurt to encourage leaks and speculation. Sophie looks at you. Could you, Eric? I saved you! Arturo suddenly appears next to her and slaps her in the face. Langley, Langley, Langley. What happened to your self-esteem? You can't really think a simple neonate has outplayed you. Or maybe this oblivious act is your way of groveling for mercy. Thomas, what? You thought that being an expert chess player would always be enough. You never realized that people at the top simply flip the chessboard over and punch you in the face whenever they don't like how the game's going. He motions to the remaining kindred. But the thing is, you weren't even adept at playing the game you knew. Eric, just another pawn, placed on the board by my associate. You thought they were your piece since you took them in, but who gave you that idea? You return to the night where you were judged by Prince Penard, the woman in red, Sophie. Somebody speaking to her, a man in glasses, a man standing before you now. This is cruel. We know what's going to happen. If only somebody would speak up for that poor child, it could be a useful tool for the Camarilla. Terror creeps onto Sophie's face. Of course, those are not the words you heard, were they? No. You were already grasping for some opportunity to further your scheme. I put the bait out, and you took it, hook, line, and sinker. After that, it was only a matter of time before you started using Eric as your errand boy. No one is quite as easy to track and monitor as a naive fledgling who's just learning the ropes. What is it that you want, Thomas? What do I want? Oh boy. The answer is so simple, but so hard to put into words. Unstable stability, cutting-edge tales of thrills and intrigue that push it to the limit, and then return you to the tried and tested status quo, gently, infallibly. A system full of distractingly moving parts which stimulate conflict so convincingly that its users never feel a need to direct their energy toward upsetting the system. Achieving the eternal through the disposable, building a city that's like a ship of Theseus, constantly changing its parts, yet always maintaining the same purpose, serving the same goal at all times. A large-scale infrastructure that has something like an exhaust system for the spirit, something that disperses the toxicity around instead of concentrating it in a single place. None of what you're saying makes the slightest bit of sense. Arturo is momentarily stopped in his tracks. He stares into the sky for a few seconds before a sad grin appears on his face. Spoken like someone who's never really had what it takes to make it in the big leagues. With a theatrical snap of fingers, he gives his last sentence a sense of finality. Something's changed in the air. You could swear you saw a shadow move behind Sophie. Goodbye, Sophie. A person appears behind Sophie. You can't believe your eyes. It's Adelaide Davis. Who? Holding garden shears in her hand. Oh, is it the girl? This seems like it's taking sides. Like we could warn her. This takes Sophie's side. Sophie's probably going to disappear now and be outlawed. We could try running away. That's kind of my goal here, is to run away from all of this. But I feel like running away alone? Maybe with Sophie. We're already being hunted. Alright. You take off and rush towards Sophie. You only take a few steps before a figure blinks right next to you and pushes you away. Arturo. Well, we tried. You hear the shears snip. Sophie's red hair conceals her face as her head falls, separated from her shoulders. Silence. Arturo's unpleasant laughter erupts right next to you. Oh, Eric, your career is moving at a breakneck pace. Moving up and up and up. Let me congratulate you on your promotion. Well, he wouldn't give me a promotion if I was going to die, necessarily. What do you want from me? What's the rush? I was about to get to that. Elena, feel free to leave us and take the Baron with you. Thomas, I don't think you should... Shush, you are just being jealous. Adelaide, escort the prince and dear old Douglas, please. Oh. See, I knew it. I mean, she wasn't with the Inquisition, but... yeah. Sure thing, darling. You were left alone next to Sophie's body. You try not to look, but it's hard to ignore her lithe frame decomposing in front of your eyes. Congratulations! You won this little game, have I? You set out on a suicide mission and successfully brought down the power-hungry wannabe tyrant, even if it probably wasn't the way you imagined it. Now you're free to enjoy paradise again, life after death, immortality, eternal youth. What they don't tell you is, of course, living in paradise is inherently sinful when not everyone can partake. But you have time to learn how to live with sin, don't you? He takes a melancholic look at the city skyline surrounding him, the Statue of Liberty and the lights of Manhattan shimmering in the distance. You know, New York taught me to believe in fate. My unlife began right here, and it began with utter despair. My first instinct was to drown myself in books and keep reading and reading until literature gave me the piece of wisdom I needed to go on. Personally, I find reading a silly hobby in retrospect. I always had this minuscule hope that the next sentence I'd read could finally bring me salvation, but it never did. It only gave me fuel for this elevated, righteous, intellectual suffering. But the more I read, the easier it was for me to boil every paragraph down to a power relationship, the characters' influence over each other, the writer trying to impress the reader, etc. The strings everyone pulls started to look like strands that weave into the fabric of fate. And once I saw its beauty, I got teary-eyed. My architect instincts kicked into overdrive. I didn't have to submit to fate. All I had to do was cooperate with it and wait for my time to shine, give it my input whenever, wherever needed until it trusted me to do more. Thomas steps over what's left of Sophie, wiping his glasses with an elegant cloth from his pocket. And it did. Fate led me to look after this city. With my architect's tools, I started quietly shaping the streets and corridors, while Kaiser and his ilk shaped the information flow. And among many tools this process gave me, one of them was a way to reliably come up with useful agents like you. The methods I used were crude at times, but the root was there. All you had to do was follow it. Some people write rule-book passages, the others plan city arteries. In the end, the effect is the same. Someone always follows. He puts on the glasses and gives you a long, hard look. You know, I have grown fond of you. You did so well. Even when that idiot Callahan tipped the Inquisition off, you still got out. I like that kind of resourcefulness. I could use that kind of resourcefulness. He uncovers his wrist. So, take my blood. Just enough so we can start off on the right foot as a sign of good faith. That puts me under his spell. And does that... I mean, I'm already sired, but this would literally put me under his spell. As a sign that you're ready to play in the big leagues, ready to behold the sights I've prepared for you. What do you say, Eric? Okay. I wonder, then, if there were ever choices that could have been made, they would have come out differently. I'm positive we could have made choices that would have ended the game. But it really makes me wonder what the whole point and purpose was of the companions. And what would have happened if we screwed all of them up and gone without companions? Would we have just... You know, knowing this now, I could play it again. And you can play it again with different characters. Presumably the main core plot is still the same. See, that I just don't know. First of all, let me just say, I like the game. It's interesting. It's an interesting take. As frustrating as it was to just come to indecision a lot of the times, I like the fact that decisions did at least seem to have consequences. I mean, the fact that I was just expecting to sort of walk my way through gaining the companions and all that stuff, like, you can actually just nope and screw it up. And you can screw up all four. So yeah, I mean, like, it might be a thing where you can just totally bork the ending, but it leaves some questions, and I'm gonna guess those are in the sequel, as we saw there on the title screen. There is another game, as this has been out for a while, so I'll probably play that one. I don't know if it's I don't know anything about it, so I don't know if it's a continuation of this story. I would imagine not. I would imagine you play with different characters and it takes a different thing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued to do it again. Probably not for a Let's Play. I'd kind of like to not necessarily do a completionist run of the whole thing, just in case someone actually wants to buy this and try it their own way and be able to see other possibilities. At the same time, though, I am curious to know if all roads do just end up leading to Rome. Because if that is the case, then it's really a one-time only game with the illusion that choice matters, just because some of those do have consequences. But, I mean, getting kidnapped by the Inquisition. If you think about it, in the ending right there, that whole little plot thing didn't even have to happen. The Inquisition popping in was really just more of a flavor thing than anything. And it also makes me wonder if I progressed things. Progressing things. Maybe I shouldn't have gone with the companion quests, because that's what pushed the storyline. You know, at the very end there, where they rescue me from the Inquisition. It was that. Did that finally come about because I completed their quest lines, and so I could have completed the one with what's her face, Adelaide there at the end, who was working for him, Arturo. We could have finished that last thing. Sophie said that she was going to take care of her, right? The way I was supposed to have taken care of Frank. If we had completed that quest line, would she have been dead, and that would have changed the ending? Likewise, if I had just quietly taken care of, like if I had just killed Frank straight off, if I had just ignored what's-his-face without getting confrontational and, not caused attention to myself and just walked away from the religious guy, would the plot point of the Inquisition showing up at all even been a thing? Because that's the only thing that I can think, is that certain things happened just because we basically let them, that we followed those trails, as Arturo was kind of saying. Because if you can screw up the companion thing, then there's no one, presumably, maybe the game forces Kadir to come in or something, which he's going to be pissed about Sophie. Like, if we screw up the companions, there's no one to save me. So is that a game over, or does that just not happen? If I ignore the secondary quests, because it doesn't seem like I had to complete them, they were optional quests, I could have just gone straight through the companions, meaning that they, all three of them being connected, well, turns out actually the stalker girl was not connected to the Inquisition, but the others were. And it may very well have turned out that they were also connected to Mr. Puppet Master here at the end. But, I don't know. Like, I kind of want to play through and try some of those just to see where it leads and what threads in this Choose Your Own Adventure book actually lead to other things. And I don't know. So I might play that on my own. But yeah, it's interesting. It's good. I like these kinds of games. My criticism for the game, though, is that the writing is a little off. Clearly there was, like, this plot point that they wanted and that sort of thing, but it felt like there were some decisions that I made that were not supposed to have been made. Obviously because they kind of screw with things, but, like, things happen that just seem to gloss over and ignore previous choices that I made. Like, and some of the dialogue option just doesn't line up. And some of it's also very ambiguous. Some of the decisions I made were really more of my own fault, of just second-guessing myself in what could this mean, thinking that I had more chances in the dialogue tree than I actually had. So, like, you really just get one shot at a decision, which is not something I'm good at all in games or life. So, on the one hand, I applaud the game for taking that bold step of, yeah, you can screw this up, but at the same time, I feel like it's too easy to screw it up. Like, I'm not gonna lie. That first meeting with the gangrel chick, what was it? Her name was what? Tamika. Our first meeting with Tamika, I thought that was just going to be a shoo-in. Like, the characters seemed, well, my character anyway, seemed compatible enough that should have been an easy one. And honestly, I thought all four were going to be pretty easy. But the fact that I screwed it up so badly, so quickly, really stuck with me. And, I feel like that maybe contributed to some of my decision paralysis later. But yeah, like I was just completely unprepared for that, especially since the game up to that point really has you on rails. Like I think you can be belligerent. I think you can, make a bad impression upon Kadir, and even that interlude where he takes us aside and he's like, "Look, I need to know who you're dealing with, etc., etc." And then we don't see him again. So I feel like that's a dangling plot point that I don't know. Does that come into play with another character? But yeah, I don't know. What I'm trying to say here, and I don't think I'm doing it very well, is that it felt like some parts of the game were rushed, and other parts were ambiguous enough that I feel like I skipped over some stuff. Not least of which, missing dialogue is also a major problem. Um, overall though, I like the game, but between some of the confusing dialogue stuff and the fact that this might not be replayable, I don't know that I would necessarily recommend it. Unless it's something that you really like the setting and all that, I would probably, I don't know, that kind of spoils things, but I would say look at a review to see what other people say about its replayability. But yeah, I mean, I definitely am interested enough to do Shadows of New York down here, so that will be coming at some point. Um, yeah, overall, overall, I think this was a good one. So, hopefully you did too. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next Let's Play.